Welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create awesome visuals like this tag bar chart. And I'll also show you when to use what type. Most of the times we just apply bar chart, and bar chart is the commonest visual, but we don't know when to use which. Now I'll also show you how to switch things up. You can change the bar chart, switch the axis. You can as well change the chart type to maybe a clustered bar chart instead of a stacked bar chart, and you can also swap the column to have a different representation of visual. I also show us how to manipulate the data element by adding some and removing others. Things like grid line, adding multiple grid lines, and the rest. I also will show us how to add a table to our bar chart. I hope you're going to enjoy this video. Let's begin. Bar chart is one of the commonest visuals that is used in Excel. Very common. Almost everyone can create a bar chart. But today I'm going to show you how to create bar chart deliberately, right? Be very deliberate and specific on using this tool. And I'm going to show us how to customize them. So first, let's look at the three types of bar chart. We have the simple bar chart, the clustered bar chart, and the stacked bar chart, right? I'll give us a scenario where each one is applicable. This is the company that has businesses in different countries: China, France, India, Nigeria, and UK. And then for each location, there are employees. For instance, in China, you can see we have the part-time employee and then the full-time employee, right? So first thing, let me just look at what happens. Part-time employee. Let's say we're interested in seeing the part-time employee. You simply select this like this, and then you go to insert and you just click bar chart. This. So you have a column bar chart. This is the simplest form of bar chart we can have. Very simple. You can see from this there are more employees in Nigeria, and then followed by France and the other countries. We have them fewer employees. Now, let's see how we can customize this bar chart. If you look up here, you see that there are different presets that we have, right? So this is another design. This is another one. You can choose from this list if you have something, just a quick style, right, that can serve you. So you can choose any of these. But now let me go ahead and show you how to work with these elements one after the other. So I have a plus sign here. You select it, and then all these are items. So for instance, our bar chart has title called part-time employee. If you say chart title, if you remove this, it's gone. If you click it, it returns. So that's how to change the title. You can see an arrow next to it. If you click, where do you want to see the title? Do you want the title centered over the chart? You want to see it above the chart? So you see, you can center overlay. We have other options, right, that you can select from. Now, the next thing is we like to see something like this grid line. Is it applicable in this chart? If you want it, you leave it. If you don't want it, you remove it, right? There are multiple grid lines. If you go here, you see them. We have the primary, horizontal, vertical. If you select all, you can see how our grid lines are. It depends on the kind of visual you're creating. So grid line may not be applicable here, so we can uncheck it. And then the legend. Now, the legend shows us what each bar is talking about, or what each color is talking about. So here, you can see we have just part-time employee. Is legend applicable here? No, I don't think there is need for a legend. We can add our data labels. So if you go to data label, you select, you can see these are the actual data label. Now, a good design will tell you that you don't need to have the axis again, right? You don't need to have this axis, the vertical axis, because you have labels on this, right? So that we don't have some redundancy. But if you like, you can leave it. So if we want to remove that, we just go, where is the vertical axis? So we remove this. So, and it's gone. So this is beautiful. Right, so any other thing can be edited. You can increase the font size of the countries here by selecting here. You can go to home and just change the suitable font size. Let me just make it 10. And we can as well target a particular bar and change the color. For example, if I want to highlight Nigeria uniquely, I'll go here. Make sure you only select this, right? If you click, you see multiple items are selected. But if you click again, you see that only this one is selected. So I can go here and just change it to green, right? So that means I'm just making emphasis to Nigeria in my visual. So only that chart changes to this color. What if we want to change the color of every bar? If we want to change the color, we can go to the color here and you choose the starting color. You can see this one starts with orange, this one starts with green, and multiple other options here. Beautiful. So this is how to create a simple bar chart. Now let me go further to show us how to create the next one, which is a clustered bar chart. A clustered bar chart is when you have multiple categories, right? Or you have multiple items displayed side by side. For instance, you see we have the total employees here, but they are divided into two groups. We have the part-time employee and the full-time employee. If you want to show this on a visual, specifically a bar chart, then you highlight everything like this. And when you go to insert and you just insert your bar, you have a multi-bar chart, right? Or a clustered bar chart. Now you can see this helps you to compare. You can see the orange one represents something, which is full-time employee, and then the part-time employee. So if you want to interpret this visual, you can just look at it and say, oh, what are the countries that have more full-time employees than part-time employees? Now, if you look at this chart, the only country is India, has more full-time employee. You can see compared to the part-time employee. However, every other country seems to have more of the part-time than the full-time employee. So the company probably offers remote jobs for part-time employment, right? So this is it. Now, there's another way. I'll show us a different way to also customize our visual. If you come here, you can see a quick layout. A quick layout helps you to arrange the elements. For instance, just look at this. If I hover on this, can you see the legend is now on the right, right? Initially, it was at the bottom. If I go here, you see it's on the right. So we have this one, the legend at the top, and different layout. If you prefer a particular layout, you can come here and just choose a layout of choice. Another interesting one is this one. You can see the table. The data is also in the visual, right? Both the data and the bars are here. If this one serves you, you can select it. But let me show you how we can work with each element individually. Look at this. We have add chart elements. Select it and then begin to choose what you want to add. What do I want to add? I go to axis, primary axis, secondary axis. It toggles, right? So now I have my vertical axis, which is here, primary vertical. I can remove it, right? I can also remove my horizontal axis, which will not help in this video. But of course, if I remove my vertical axis, another thing I will need to do is to add the data labels. So I can add the data labels. Now, here you can see it gives us more options. Just look at it. We have center. You can see we have inside. We have inside base. We have outside end. And then we have data callout, which, just presents it like a chart, right? So I think I prefer maybe outside end. So the one that shows at the top, which is the default. So I will select this, right? Still on this, you can also change some things like the data table, right? If you want the data table, you can just select it here. Right, so this one has the legend attached to it. You can see the legend is attached to the data table. Then the variant here for the data table does not have the legend. You can see, right? If you don't want any, you click none, and then it's gone. Now, let's also check the grid line. Since it's not applicable in this visual, it's already selected. You can see it looks gray, so you select it, and then we don't have grid line anymore. This you can simply click and type the title, right? So we can say employee. Okay, just type your preferred title. This is not applicable. You can actually click on it and click delete, and then it's gone. Now let me show you how you can change the color. Since we have two colors, how do you change the colors individually, and how do you change the colors collectively? So first, we have a preset that helps us to change the color collectively. Now, if I click here on this brush, then I can go to the style under color and now choose color. Now, this is the color. You can see we have blue and then orange if I want blue before gray. And this is like orange, yellow. So that's the order. This one is monochromatic, one color, but different saturation of the color. So you can select it. You can select any one that suits your visual. Most of the times, if there is branding associated to the visuals you are creating, you may choose the brand color, as monochromatic so that everything looks nice and within that particular brand. So that's how to manipulate this. Now, finally, we can also switch the axis like this. If I click switch row and column, you can see. So what we have here is part-time employment, different countries. So our keys are represented as countries. Let me use a layout that will arrange our key to the side. So we have our legend. You can see it to the side. Now, if I look at yellow, I'm looking at Nigeria. And then you can see, so we have it here, more of the part-time employee than the full-time employee. So we are comparing them side by side. However, when we have so many colors, this visual may not be the best. Because we have so many colors, it will take a lot of effort to understand the colors and interpret them. That's one. And not just about understanding the colors and interpreting them, the way the visual is presented with the bars side by side will lead to a lot of complexity. So in that case, what we need to do is to change the chart type. And that brings us to the third chart type, which I'm going to show us today. To change chart type, you may not need to delete this and create again. No, you just come to change chart type here, select it, and then you can switch to this, which is a stack bar chart. So I'll say, okay. Now, this is a stack bar chart. This is more presentable because at the point in time, I may just be looking at part-time employment, and I'll look at the colors. For example, I know that yellow is the biggest box here, so like Nigeria has the highest number of part-time employee. And then for the full-time employee, I can see that France is doing more. Now, you can also compare side by side. Just look at the color at a time and look at the size of the box. I can just tell you everything that is happening just by looking at these visuals. If I just look at the first one, UK, I can see that, well, there are more part-time employees in the UK than full-time employee. And I know there are more part-time employees as well in China than full-time employee. I can see it clearly. But India, the gray one, you see, we have fewer part-time employee than full-time employee. Now, another thing we can do with this stack bar chart is that we can add our labels to it. So you can add data label. I already showed us how to do it. But let me go back. We just do this by going to add data element and we select data label, right? So data label, you just select it and select the particular position, the default one, or you just go and select a particular one. So for the stack bar chart, it's best we place it in the center. So you can see we place them in the center, and this is beautiful, very beautiful. So you can see. Now, for the colorful design, we can change to different colors. Now, let's say I change to this color. You can see that this particular label is dark. I can select it particularly and go back to home and change the text color to a brighter color so that it can be visible. Right? So you can see. Likewise, this, I can also change the color to a brighter color, and then this, just to maintain, beauty in our design if we have to maintain this particular design. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you are going to make the best use of these 3 types of bar chart moving forward. Thanks for watching.